Hello and welcome to this needle felting tutorial by Wool and the Forest. I haven't done a needle felting tutorial in almost a year, and I think this is the time of year when we're all thinking about handmade decorations, little things made by our own hands that we can include in gifts and parcels and stockings, and these little needle felted acorns are just so simple to make, and they can be used in a variety of different ways. In fact, keep an eye out, because in a few days time or a couple of days time I will be releasing another video, part 2 of this video, where I'll show you a couple of ideas for using these needle felted acorns in your decorations, in your handmade decor around the house for the solstice and Christmas season. So let's jump straight into the tutorial and first talk about what we need to gather to make these little cuties. I have here a little bit of wool roving. This is some of my indigo dyed, my hand indigo dyed Swedish fiber, I believe, Swedish wool roving, and I have a little tiny bit of that here. Make sure to draft your fibers, whatever it is you're using, just have them drafted, pulled apart and made ready for felting. And I have here a very inexpensive foam pad that I got online, which works really well for this simple needle felted sculptures. And I have lined it with some wool felt pieces, because I find that the felting is a lot nicer when you have something covering the foam padding. And that's it. I've just pinned it on either side into my mat. And I also have here felting needles. I have a 40 gauge triangle needle, just a standard 40 gauge triangle. This is my all-purpose needle. And I also have a 36 triangle, which I sometimes use if I'm working with a really rough fiber, which I am today. Either way, if you only have one type of needle, like a 40 gauge will work perfectly fine for these little acorns. You will also need a spool of thread or some very fine wire, as I've used in these ones. Either way, either the thread or the wire, whichever will suit your purposes best, to hang up your acorns or to attach them to these little acorn heads. You will also need a collection of these little acorn caps or acorn hats, which either you can collect on your autumn walks, or often this time of year you will find sellers online who will be selling these by the bags, and they are really not that expensive. And you can get quite a large collection and work away on these for a few seasons, I think. So some of these acorn hats or caps to fit your felted acorns into. Oh, and you also need either a double pointed needle or a wooden skewer or something like that, which we're going to use as a form to initially get some shape into this wool. So now that we've gathered all our supplies, let's get straight into the felting. So we have here some roving. I'm just gonna take about that much. You're gonna learn after making a few of these how much roving you're gonna need to make different sizes of acorns, but for now I'm just gonna start with that amount. I've drafted it, but there's a little bit here that needs a little bit of extra drafting. Get any rough bits out. This is very rough fiber. It's just been kind of hand combed, but if you're getting roving specifically for felting, it will already come pretty nicely carded for you. So you get it into a nice drafted piece there. And now, starting with either your skewer or your double pointed needle, you're going to start rolling this into a tight oval shape. You can actually keep drafting as you're pulling it onto the skewer, just rolling it onto the skewer. Basically, you're just giving it its original shape. And while I've done this with the skewer and without the skewer, You know, each one works. It's just with the skewer, you're just cutting out some of that initial work because you get a nice tight shape. Sometimes, depending on the fiber you have, you might just want to shape this in your hand as well without the skewer. It's up to you. So tightly wind that in. So you see now it's nothing neat. It's just a general shape that you can start working with. I get my all-purpose 40 gauge here, and I'm just going to start working away on this, just making sure to felt that last end. Just make sure you don't, go straight into the wooden needle, because that will break your needle, the wooden DP end rather. And just start working away on the outside, just consolidating the shape. Now this is wonderful, wonderful fiber I'm working with. It's very rough, so it actually felts really fast and holds its shape really well. You just want to go at it from different angles, not just keep changing your angle. And quick stabs in and out, making sure you're not getting that skewer on the bottom. And basically just, once you can tell quite easily when it's holding its shape. It kind of almost looks like a butterfly cocoon there. You can take it out of the skewer, and now you can start making the shape of your acorn. Now I like my acorns which have a slightly nubby kind of blunt end, as you can I'll show you one of them here, this one here. These ones with the nubby ends, the sort of rounded blunt ends, I like the look of them. I think they're quite cute. So I like to start felting on top first and really creating that shape first. But if you want a more pointed end, you just have to be aware not to flatten that top first. So I'm going to start by making that nice little rounded nose. And felting it's time consuming. It is not something you should rush through. It takes time. It is a wonderful, wonderful way of spending time with wool. If you are like me and you just are looking always for some excuse to handle wool, felting is wonderful because you will have to handle it a lot before you make some shape out of it. And here we go. So again, keep changing your angle. I've got that nose kind of roughly formed. And when I'm felting, I'm always going for just the rough form first. I'm not looking at perfecting my shape from the outset. I'm looking at just creating my rough form. And here, that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to use my larger 36 here because I'm finding that the 40 gauge is not working as well for this very coarse fiber. So that's why having a few different needle sizes helps depending on the fiber you have. If you have very fine fibers, the 40 will work just fine. But see, it's going a lot faster with the 36. A lot faster. And these 36 triangle needles, 36 gauge needles, are very good at establishing this initial form because they make quick work. But they also have to be used with caution because they can make your sculpture a little too rough, too tight in the middle before you're ready to finish it. So you don't want that to happen. So keep going like that, keep forming the shape. Sometimes I like to just use my hands as well, because remember, as I've said so in my previous felting tutorial, your hands are as important as tools as your felting needles. And that's why I love working with less processed wool, because it allows me to shape using my hands. Because of all that lanolin that's in there, it really acts like a glue and makes your felting job a little easier, I think, for the kind of felting I do. So again, keep moving, keep working that. You can see the shape is starting to form. And if you're using a very rough fiber like I am, where you can see it's quite hairy, it's got a lot of different fibers that are longer staple length, it will stick out like that. You can use that as part of the charm of what you're making, or you can just simply snip those away with a little pair of embroidery snips or something like that. Or you can even wet felt it with a little bit of warm water and a little bit of soap mixed in a small bowl. Dip this in when you feel like you've finished getting the shape right, and then just squeeze the water out, rub it in your hands, and a lot of these extra long fibers will get felted in quite fast. When you have very long fibers like I do here, I don't know if you can see that, but they are quite woolly and fuzzy. Those are going to be troublesome for you to work in using your felting needles. So that's when a little bit of wet felting can come in handy to really smooth it out, if that's the look you're going for. So there we go. We're really coming close now to the final shape of this. I'm just going to go in now with my 40 gauge and really go into some deep felting. And now that I feel like I like the shape I've got, I am wanting to get into the deeper areas of the shape and felt it in by going in with deeper strokes. And again, just keep moving the wool and keep moving your needle, so you're never felting more in one place or the other. Now that's actually not a bad shape in my opinion. You can keep working on this. You can keep going. But often with these rough fibers, what I'll do is I'll stop at this stage and take them in to a little bit of water with soapy water and firm them up that way as well. Now at this stage, what you can do is go through your collection of little acorn caps and find one that will fit this. Oh, look at that. That one fit perfectly. Maybe we'll find another match for this. That's actually quite nice. That's nice. Or I think that's actually really nice as well. So that is a good fit for that. And I am not going to show this fully smoothed out. As you can see, some of these are a lot smoother, and that you can do by snipping fibers off or by using the wet felting technique. Like I said, I'm just going to leave this one just like this, perhaps work on it a tiny bit more. Just keeping it going round and round and round and round. Okay, so here I've worked on this shape a lot more. It doesn't have much give, as you can see. It has a little bit of give, but I like my sculptures, my felt sculptures, to be a bit soft actually. I don't like them perfectly firm. So if I wanted to smooth it out, like I said, just wet felt it or snip away any of those extra fibers. Now, fitting it onto the acorn cap is quite easy. You can use the hot glue method. Hot glue has its place for sure in our craft cabinets. But I find that this technique that I use, using a sewing needle and either a piece of thread or a piece of wire, works really well, because not only do you get to attach it non-permanently, in case you ever wanted to take it off and reuse these for something else, but you have now something you can hang your acorn from or attach it to your decorations. So here I have a piece of thread. I'm just going to take off about that much, just that much, depending on what you are hanging it on to, of course. Put that over there, get myself a fairly large but pointed tapestry needle, or any other needle that you have. That's going to go through the wool. I'm just going to thread it once. And basically, while holding my felted form here on inside the cap. Well, there we go. That one's better. So holding my felted form, I'm just going to go in from the side. Just work my way directly to the other side, staying close to the cap, and just pull that thread through. Take it off the needle, and then I can quite tightly tie a knot up on the top of that cap. So you do need a nice tight cap, knot rather, sorry, to make sure that doesn't move. And if you're doing this with wire, you'll see that it's even easier. For example, if you want to attach these felted acorns to one of your wreaths for the holiday time, or something else where wire makes more sense, it's actually really easy to do. So there we go. I've just tied a little knot around the little wee stem at the top of the acorn, and here we have a sweet little felted acorn. And smooth or rough, whatever takes your fancy. You can now hang this up on an ornament, hang it up on your tree, make many and hang them up on little trees. As I said, make them a part of your wreath making or any other decor. I mean, sky's the limit. You can use them everywhere. So stay tuned. In the next few days, I will release part 2, where I'll show you a couple of very sweet little decoration items I am making with these felted acorns. So that's it for today. I really hope you have enjoyed the second ever felting tutorial brought to you by Wool in the Forest and by me, Ducky. If I don't see you again, which is not likely, but if I don't, I'm wishing you a very beautiful start to the solstice and festive season and Christmas and any which way in which you will be celebrating this lovely time of year. I hope you're having fun with family, making decorations. It is definitely the time for makers. We get very busy and happy during this time of year. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.